Hello, it's week 14 of season 3 of the Andy Griffith Show. This week's episode title is One Punch Opie. Barney, what's up this week?
Opie is in the courthouse doing some chores for his daddy. And he gets his daddy to tell him that he can go fishing now, and he can finish his last chore when he comes back. And then after Opie leaves, I tell Andy the boy was given a chore to do. He should have done it, and should not have been allowed to do anything else until it was finished. But Andy doesn't take me seriously. Meanwhile, Opie and his friends are Indian wrestling, and then instead of going fishing like they had planned, a new boy in town named Steve Quincy wants to go steal some apples.
But Opie just wants to go fishing like they had originally planned, and he says that, and the new boy, Steve, in front of all the other boys, says, "So what was your name, Opie or Dopey?" And then he calls him Chicken, and then he and all the other boys leave to go steal the apples and leave Opie there alone.
And in the courthouse, Aunt Dee is filling us in on what she knows about Steve Quincy's family that just moved into town. And then Opie comes in and wants to know how much longer his daddy's going to be sheriff, because as long as Opie is the sheriff's boy, he can't fight. So I tell him, let me just give you a few pointers on how to handle rowdies. The first thing you do is get a psychological edge on your adversary by showing extreme confidence. Then I show him how to stand his ground and how to have muscle control. And then we hear that Opie's having trouble with this new boy, Steve Quincy.
So Andy says, Opie, just find something that you like about him and use that as a basis for a friendship. Try to start over with him. And Opie says, okay. So he goes and finds the boys standing with the apples that they just stole under a street light, and the new boy, Steve, purposely throws an apple to break the street light.
And then when Andy drives up, Steve gives Opie all the apples, and they all run away. And Opie doesn't want to say who threw it, so his daddy says to bring all these boys to the courthouse for him to talk to them. And when I hear about it, I say, I don't like it one bit. I tell you, this is just the beginning. Next thing you know, they'll be on motorcycles, wearing leather jackets, and zooming around. They'll take over the whole town. This calls for action, and now, nip it in the bud. So the boys show up, all except for Steve Quincy. And Andy says if this ever happens again, he's going to go straight to their daddies. And then I say, all right, boys, I'd like to just add a word or two to what the sheriff has just said. If you keep on getting into trouble and breaking the law, it can only lead to one thing: incarceration. A man who has given up his liberty, his pursuit of happiness.
Next day, Andy's about to take the boys fishing, Opie and his friends, but one of the shopkeepers comes in and complains about some vandalism that just happened at his store, and he says it was a new boy.
And I say, this is what comes of mollycoddling. What are you going to do now, Sheriff? Have another little talk with them? And Andy says no, he's going to go talk to their daddies. And I go with him, and Opie hears what our plan is. So he goes to Steve, and he confronts him about his bad behavior. And Opie won't back down. But Steve does back down, and all the other boys side with Opie. So Steve goes home alone. And then Opie comes in to report his success to his daddy. And I hear it and I say, you know what I think had a good effect on them fellas? That little speech I give them. Yeah, they definitely did not like the idea of being locked up.
Well, I'm glad it all ended up well. We'll see you next week for episode 15. Thanks for watching.